attorney would, but without the confines of the bar. That's the thing, is the bar really hamstrings a person's rights. So once you hand your rights over to another attorney, which is what you're doing when you get an attorney, good luck. But y'all
You're
should check
literally
that out.
giving them power of attorney over you.
Yeah, what's the name of that YouTube video or channel?
So it's on Alphonse's YouTube channel, but a lot of that stuff is outdated. So don't go trying to do that stuff. Listen to what he's saying now. But if you watch that court hearing, It's really interesting, and it says something about Richard. I think it's got Richard's name on there. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but it's really cool. And it's like 20 minutes, so it's worth watching.
What was the guy? Was the guy's name Richard Allen?
It might be, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll check it out, man. Appreciate that.
If somebody could send me some of this stuff, I'm kind of asking because I'm busy at work, and I really wish I was like taking notes and writing this stuff down. So if anybody could just send me some key phrases, I would love to research that.
I'm driving, otherwise I'd send it.
Yeah, because I'm trying to educate myself because I don't want to be a sovereign citizen. That's the last thing I want to be. I want to be a king with no subjects, sovereign with no subjects.
Larry, did you change your name from Paul?
I am not Paul.
Okay, well, Larry, I dropped the Telegram group for Alphonse. That's all I've got.
Hey, cool.
Isn't Paul actually Hank?
No, Hank is Larry. Larry's Hank.
Well, I thought you were Larry.
Yeah.
Yeah, where's Paul been? I haven't seen Paul in a while. You sound like Paul, bro.
Paul is highly educated. I'm a high school dropout.
Oh wait, you're Larry. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm Larry.
Yeah, Joe from Impractical Jokers was looking for you.
I don't know who that is.
Guy on his TV show that goes around screaming Larry.
They were just here in Austin.
Without Joe though, Joe's the star and he's gone.
Well, that's what I heard. Is that one of them left. Oh yeah, Joe. Joe's like that's right. There's Sal, Joe, some other guys.
It's just on at the beginning of every single episode. The guy Joe's going around screaming Larry. So sticks out to me. I mean, I wouldn't really mind if that was my career. Like, if that was my life, I wouldn't mind being whatever. Just give me some social security numbers. That's fine.
Hey, my mind just went back to, free energy, and then, free water, free food. Because in a way, I think humanity was supposed to work more on a barter system, help your neighbor out, they'll help you. Because water, power, food, I think that stuff should be free. We got tricked into paying. You think I'm wrong?
Yeah, I think you're dead wrong for sure. There's no barter system needed when everybody has plenty. Like, just give it away.
Oh, that's true.
How do you get energy for free?
The ether, bro.
The ether, bro.
Okay. All right. Well, do me a favor. Just write up the instructions for me. I'll pay for them.
Oh yeah, if we did that, we'd be killed, bro. You think the capitalists are gonna let us just, give out this free energy? You know what happened to the guy who came up with the water car, right? Well,
I'll tell you what.
which
Just
guy?
DM it.
Okay,
DM it to me.
hold on. Remember the guys who came up with the water car? One of them who died, and I think it was 4 other dudes in his city with the exact same name died on the exact same day. Remember that? That was a coincidence, right? It's nothing to see here.
It's an amazing excuse, but if you DM it to me, I promise to keep you anonymous.
All right,
I'll pay you half of the proceeds that I make. But that'd be great if you could just DM to me how I can get free energy using the ether.
Yeah, if you just Google the Schwinger effect and scientists pull something out of nothing, there you go. There's your recipe.
I'll put it in the
Schwinger effect.
I'll put it in the chat also right now on how you can get free energy. I DM'd you though.
Hey, Kosho, have you seen where the guy takes his drone and he sends it up 100 meters with a thin copper wire, and you cannot touch the wire because it'll shock the crap out of you from the ether?
Yeah, I've seen that. Wasn't the ether though, was it? You could do the same thing.
Right, he was plugged up to the grid, right, Kosho? Right?
No. So there's something called hey, Larry, put a sock in it. Okay. There's something called electrostatic charge, right? Or electrostatic potential, right? Electrostatic potential, which depends on the different charges and the distance and all that. And so it just so happens if you have 2 different charges and you have a way of connecting them at a great distance, you're going to get a current. So this is the case in the atmosphere.
I don't know, connecting or conducting. I don't know if that's which word would be more correct. Like, are you connecting them? They already seem to be connected. You're just conducting it, like with a baton, telling it where you want it to go for your need. It's already there.
The charge is there, the electrostatic charge. Just like if you have two electrostatic charges across the room, right? You have electrostatic potential, and if you can connect those, if you can somehow like you said, like have a conducting wire that connects them, you'll have a current between them.
So it's already there, though. Yeah, go ahead, Larry.
The charge is already there. Yeah.
It's funny because not even like a week ago, I was saying that these electrostatic forces, they cause cloud formation. And, people were in here saying, "No, Larry, you're wrong. Like that doesn't have anything to do with the clouds." It's like,
they don't.
Of course. What's all that lightning doing? Not putting off any forces whatsoever. Just
the lightning is from clouds. The lightning is from the actual the what do you call it? The atmosphere. Like the atmosphere is what do you say? Like it's basically when you have a thunderstorm, you no longer have that 100 volts per meter thing anymore. So that's sort of like a correction, basically.
So are electrostatic forces created by clouds, or does electrostatic forces create clouds? The world may never know.
The former. It doesn't create clouds, but it is created by clouds. Yes, it's created by the fact that when you have water rising up from the ground, and you have get into the sky, and you have all these different movements of the atmosphere, and then eventually a rainfall. All these things are basically churning up the.
What's conducting the rain from the ground? What's conducting the rain from the ground to the sky? Like what's connecting it?
God damn it! Do I hate doing this, dude? Somebody else will take care of everybody.
Okay, wow.
He sounds really confident that. Go ahead, bro.
No, Larry, it's cool. You can go.
I don't normally say much, but I could easily prove that your clouds might be one thing, but it won't release the rain until the moon is as far away as possible from that area. When the moon is closer, it doesn't release the rain. When the moon is further away, laterally or vertically or horizontally in all directions, the further away the moon is away from that area, the more rain the area will get.
I've never seen that. That'd be cool to kind of check out.
It happens every 2 weeks, man. If you watch the moon, when it goes into the southern hemisphere, the northern hemisphere goes damp. When the moon goes into the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere goes damp. And also you have to consider where the sun is, slightly, because if the sun and the moon are in line, then it'll weaken the moon's power. But I reckon many parts of the world would be able to see this very evident cycle, which probably harder to pick out when the sun is crossing the equator, because it's kind of in that equatorial band, so things start not as,
Well, in Vietnam, and they call it Project Popeye. They made it rain for 6 or 7 months straight. The moon did some stuff for 6 or 7 months, but
yeah, they didn't know about cloud seeding back then, so they actually lassoed the moon, kept it in place.
Yeah, but it might be the case that everything is a certain normality, and then it would be released. But if without the release, it would just stay dormant, or something opposite to that. It's just more the case that normal things happen, and then the moon gives it an extra push, or the moon is not pulling on it as much, depending on the static charge, I guess.
Regarding free energy, I don't think that free energy is a thing. I mean, if it was theoretically possible, there would be pockets of individuals in the world taking advantage of it, and I just haven't seen that. And if the technology was lost, which is what many believe, I would say that it would be retrievable, and it just hasn't been demonstrated, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
Well, yeah, like if the Earth were flat, then every scientist would be talking about it, and everybody would be in on it. Yeah.
Well, no, that's
So
a different story altogether.
you know how a magnet like repels another magnet? So if you were to set up like a V-twin engine and you were to put magnets where the piston and the spark would be, and each time it turned, you'd have to start it with a pull string, but once it started going, like it would go left and then it would be pushed away, then it would go right, then it would be pushed away, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, this sort of thing seems very possible, just by using magnets and
Yeah.
that
And
sort of thing.
it gets also, like, the terminology gets mixed up, free and free cost versus physics free.
Yeah.
Well, there actually was 3 energy devices recently discovered: the fusion ignition at Lawrence Livermore Labs, and also the Schwinger effect. Sorry, go ahead.
I would say that if you could develop a technology that would propel, to infinity, or infinite amount of energy, just a recirculating cycle, right? I think in order to develop that, it would take initially a huge amount of energy, like something equivalent to the building of the Great Pyramid of Giza, to achieve a perpetual cycle that would, you could tap into using like underwater aqueducts and stuff, like underground aqueducts. Theoretically, right? I don't know if that's even possible, but if it were possible, you would have to contribute like an insane amount of energy initially for it to be possible in the long run. It's not something that you could just build easily in your garage. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, like, without just being very superficial, me right now, what I've heard is that, right? So they'll be like, okay, I got this energy, it works great, but now in the vacuum of space, how's the free energy machine? Where is it going to gain the work? Then it would take too much work being put in to get the energy, so we can never create a free energy machine that's truly free, and traverse outer space. Right? But there's no outer space. We just want a free energy machine here on Earth. Like, we don't need it to go to outer space and get stopped, in the process by naysayers, because outer space is real and this free energy machine wouldn't be beneficial. No, there's other ways. Like, So it truly being free, like, you know, of having to put in any work, who cares, right? Like the truest of free, right? But yeah, possible as far as highly outweigh the amount of work being put into it with just magnets seems very feasible to me as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I've literally seen it done with like turkey basters as the cylinder, and you just glue some magnets up on like a wooden block and create like a little V-twin engine. And I've also seen ground generators, also known as ground batteries, where you stick like a rod of copper and a rod of zinc in the ground, and then you get the ground wet, and it produces like 2 volts. Unfortunately, it has a diminishing return, so if you hooked up a series of like 6 of those, you wouldn't have a 12-volt battery because of the diminishing return.
Like I've seen water powered cars, like it's a thing, right? But the idea isn't practical, bro. It has little torque. They accelerate very slowly. They don't have high speed capabilities. Like the thing is useless for any practical reasons. You can't use it for anything, bro. You can't drive your family of 4 down to Six Flags on a water powered car.
Gears, man. Just gears are what make it move. You need more gears. Like one gear is not going to do anything. Yeah, you're going to be weak. Yeah.
Yeah. Why does an electric car work, but not a water? And then one of the things that I'm so curious about with this electric car movement is why don't they have essentially like a charger that is somehow connected to the wheels? So as the wheels rotate, it generates more energy to recharge your battery.
That.
Oh, they do have that?
Yeah, Nissan Leaf. It doesn't work exactly like that because as you put a load on the system and start charging the battery with generators, it slows it down. So in the Nissan Leaf, they use it as a secondary braking system. So you can disengage your mechanical brakes and engage your generator brakes.
All electric cars and hybrids, I believe, use regenerative braking. Which when you're braking, it basically gains back electricity while you're braking. Hybrids use that.
Kershaw owns a Prius, so he knows.
Okay, so I wonder why they make it work with the revolution of the wheel, though, because then it seems like you wouldn't have to charge it at all if you were driving it. You know,
because then it takes from the wheel spinning. So if you're driving and you're using your wheels spinning to generate electricity, it would slow your wheels down.
Okay,
that's why they use it. They use it for braking.
I gotcha. And then I also wondered, like, why don't they? They probably have, but I don't know anything about electric cars. I don't research them. I don't have one. But I always wonder, well, why don't they have just solar panels all over them? Like I live in Texas. It seems like if you're out driving during the day and you're parking and all that stuff, your car could be charging all the time.
They do, but it's not enough to keep it going. So you would have to have like a great deal of solar panels on there, and it wouldn't work. I've seen people put like little, I don't know what to call them, little windmills on their car, and they can generate, stuff doing that way. But basically, with the whole electric car thing and going green, it's to make China great again, because they got all the technology rocks. So anytime we see somebody pushing that agenda, it's to destroy our own energy infrastructure and keeping us from being energy independent. Thanks.
Great point. But yeah, the windmill thing, it works the same way as you're putting them on the wheels. If you put it on the wheels to generate, or you put it on the windmills on the car to generate it, it would do exactly the same. It would slow your car down. So if you put it, let's say you put it in what do you call it, like the front of the car, or the intake, like the air intake. The more you use that to gain, the more you would require that to gain electric power or whatever, it's going to slow your car down. It's going to make it less aerodynamic. So all those things. That's why they really say there's no such thing as free energy, is because any energy that you attempt to capture, you're going to be taking it from somewhere else.
Where's the magnet pulling the energy from?
What magnet?
Virtual particles.
Any magnet, like it's like any magnets, like 2 magnets. Where are they pulling the energy from?
What energy?
The energy that it takes for them to attract each other.
The magnet wears out over time, so it's getting less and less strong each time you use it.
Yeah, like a tanker gas.
That's an interesting claim. I don't think I've heard that one before.
Well-
That the magnet wears out as you use it.
Yeah. So if that's the case, so where is that energy being stored, and what has quantitatively changed or qualitatively changed within that little piece of whatever you magnetized? What changed within that, and what is storing the energy?
You should be able to measure it as well. Like if you take and stretch a rubber band and store energy in it, the rubber band is actually heavier. So if that magnet is losing magnetism over time, it should be changing in weight over time also.
Does it?
I don't think that that's actually accurate. That it uses up its magnetism as you use it.
But it loses. It does, surely does.
But
It definitely
where is
loses
the
it.
magnetism being stored? Where does that energy come from? What is that energy?
It's an
And what has
alignment of.
changed within that piece when you magnetize it?
So I'm not an expert, but I think the magnetism comes from the alignment of electrons. So it's about the organization of the electrons inside the material, the way they're
Exactly.
positioned.
You could
Right,
use a magnet to magnetize another piece of metal, and it won't make the magnet that you use for magnetizing any less strong. So either
We understand these things, but the questions I'm asking still remain, right?
well, if you're asking where does the magnetism get stored, it's not like there's a magnet particle that's being locked into a battery somehow. It's just aligning ferrous material in a straight structured thing. Like it's not adding or giving anything. It's just aligning particles.
So I'm posting a little blurb from like a Wikipedia about how the magnet wears out over time. It gets weaker and weaker because it says it actually describes why. It might be.
All right, but just as Demon's Dry described, is he saying that it's not losing or gaining energy? It's just alignment, so you can realign it. It's not. So it's free
where is
energy.
the energy? So where is the energy coming from?
Doesn't have any.
So it has zero energy. So Kosho says no energy.
Well, I'm not
Do you
just
guys
saying
agree
this.
with
This is what
Kosho?
Zanuck has said this, and I looked it up because I was like, whoa, Zanuck said this a while ago. I look it up, and turns out it's exactly right.
Yeah, so there's zero energy there.
Magnetism is a force, but has no energy of its own.
Just because you guys can't explain it, you say that. So there's no force that is holding the magnet to something, or it is a force. But if it's a force, what's imparting the energy? Because in order to have a force, you have to have something that imparts the energy into it in order for the force to be. Force has to come from somewhere.
No, check this out, dude.
Somewhere.
Check this out, dude. You have what's called a generator, okay? And a generator can take energy from one source and turn it into energy another source, like electricity.
Transform.
The magnetism is not energy there. It can be used to transfer that energy, but magnetism itself is not energy.
Whoa! Hold on. You said there's no energy there. It can be used to transfer the energy. So
That's right.
There's no energy, but it's transferring energy. So where's the energy that it's transferring? Where is it coming from and going to?
It's like
in the obvious example of a water dam, a dam of water, the dam is holding up the water, potential energy, gravitational potential energy. Then the dam lets the water through the turbine spins. Okay, the magnet then will produce the magnet that's rotating around that's rotating because of the water. It creates electrical energy because of this.
No,
the
magnetic
energy is a thing though.
No. We're just talking about the dam magnet itself. Where is that energy that is required, or the force required, in order for it to hold itself to the side of my refrigerator?
That's a force. Magnetic force.
Scott said, a force by definition requires an energy input. What energy is being input into it?
Who told you that?
Can you name a force that doesn't require some sort of energetic input?
The magnetic force.
Circular.
The law of inertia.
There you go.
Inertia is
the magnetic
resistance.
force.
So you're saying inertia is what holds a magnet to my refrigerator?
I don't know what he's saying. What I'm saying is that, an object remains at rest until an external force acts upon it, right? And when you're talking about magnets, they do have an effect, and right? So there's energy being transferred because they can repel as much as they can attract.
Yep.
So there's something that's repelling objects away. That means there's a force, there's an energy being exerted. You can't say that there's no energy, because then
If
you're
there's
contradicting
energy being
yourself. And you're
exerted, you can
contradicting.
measure it. Like I said, you could weigh it, and it would weigh differently. This would be this would be absolute. This would be fact. This would be 100%. Weigh a magnet after you've declared that it's transferred energy, and tell me what it changes.
I tried it. It actually came out with two different readings. The one time I put it on like a little vegetable scale and it said one thing, right? And then I put it on like a digital steel scale and it read another thing.
Yeah, it's because those have metal in them. You're probably
shit.
gonna have to use like a balance scale that's made out of brass or something.
Hey, I just want to bring attention real quick. Hey, Globies, you guys got to get on your boy here in the chat. He's saying you can observe curvature from the fucking beach, guys. Can you please get your guy? Can you get your fucking guy, please?
Can we get to that in a second? Can we get to that? Can we get to that in a second? Because we're in the middle of this magnet thing. Yeah, I just thought about it. I was thinking about it right now. If you, because I posted that thing from the German physicist or whatever, I forgot what it said, but it's something that said about the energy being created and not destroyed. So when Scott was talking about how the alignment, so if you take, let's say, a powerful magnet, which there's no energy given to it or taken from it, it's just a powerful permanent magnet, very strong one, and you put it, so you make a magnetic field with that, and you put a molten iron in this, in this vicinity or whatever, and basically you allow the alignment of this, the poles in this material to be aligned so that it also becomes a permanent magnet. Now, it's true that it's true that there was something affecting it, but that alignment or disalignment, that's not an energy, right? It doesn't take energy to put it one way or the other. Like the alignment, the alignment can either be oriented or disoriented, and neither one of those is going to represent energy.
It takes an energy. So if you take a chunk of neodymium iron boron and it's non-magnetized, what do you do to magnetize it, Kosha?
You can put it in a magnetic field.
What else what is typically done in a factory to create that magnet?
You can put it in you can put it in a magnetic field. If you're trying to insinuate that you have to use if you're trying to insinuate that you have to use energy to do it, I'm telling you, you don't. You can put it in a magnetic field created by a permanent magnet.
Yeah, and it'll magnetize.
Would magnetic fields be considered energy, though?
No,
they are.
They're not. How about this? How about this? We're all big men here,
Why are you
right?
getting so mad?
Just go ahead, because you're just claiming things, and I'm showing you that it's not true. But go ahead and just post evidence to what you're saying. Just post anything that says that what you're saying is true. That's it.
I'm not posting shit because I'm just talking on my phone while I'm doing actual work. I don't have time to go do the work for you. But just because it can't be posted and you're trying to post a bunch of stuff that is claimed, you don't even know what the causal mechanism within that magnetic field is. I mean, if you believe in virtual photons, then you'll just make up all kinds of shit.
Hold on. I think there's a disconnect here because he's just agreeing that, or he believes that there's no such thing as energy when it comes to magnetic fields, right? But how can you say that and simultaneously agree that the electromagnetic spectrum is a spectrum of energy, bro?
Yeah,
and you have visible light.
That's not created by magnetism.
UV, you have UVC, you have UVA, you have X-rays, you have gamma rays, you have all these things that are part of the electromagnetic spectrum that are considered energetic states, but yet you say that a certain spectrum of that is not considered energy. How do you figure
magnetism is not a spectrum. It's not in a spectrum of electromagnetic radiation. It's not part of that spectrum. That's light. That is energy. Magnetism is not energy.
Everything, bro. Once you understand that,
okay, I'm done.
That the universe itself is all right. Okay, I'm done too.
Hey, if you're checking out, let me tell you something that I've been thinking about while y'all been talking. It's kind of parallels in a way. It's unique. Do with it what you want. You can scrap it if you want. But I was thinking about the human body and how our parents put energy into the lovemaking act that brought us into, being formed.
Yeah, dude.
No, listen. How about this? I think that the human body, first and foremost, needs breath. You have to breathe. Then water. Somewhere water, rest, and food. And our heart gets going from the very beginning. And it's like basically perpetual with our medulla oblongata. And we only have a particular amount of life or a set amount of heartbeats before it's done. And we don't know when the end of our life is going to be, but we're kind of like awesome rechargeable batteries, but we're way better than anything man's created, right? Isn't that cool?
So our body is basically the 5 elements. Earth, our body's made of dirt. Our mothers eat dirt. We eat food that comes from the dirt, right? Wind, air, right? Fire, the electrical charge from the stomach acid, and, the nervous system. Water, right? And then the 5th element's the ether, right?
You can't talk about the ether, man, which is the conjugate of the dielectric and the magnetic. Can't do that. It's off limits.
So we can talk about space-time till the cows come home.
Correct. And then you make up things like virtual photons to try to explain magnetism, which allegedly has no energy.
I just looked up real quick just to make sure that I was on the right track, right? I looked it up, and it's funny. The first link that comes up on Google, and I'll take a screenshot. This is science.nasa.gov. And it's ironic that it's NASA, but it says that the terms light, electromagnetic waves, and radiation, EMF, all refer to the same physical phenomenon that is referred to as electromagnetic energy. Whether it's electromagnetic waves, magnetic waves, it's all part of the same system, bro. You can't separate them.
Which really, if you take that term properly, it should be the dielectric magnetic. So instead of electromagnetic, the electric part of it is really the dielectric, and then the magnetic. It's the conjugate of the two and the different vibratory nature of the ether. It's all just broken down. Pretty simple.
I agree.
This is where the Glober says, yeah, but my virtual particles are in the textbooks, bro.
Yeah. I've got peer-reviewed virtual particle papers, so you're wrong.
Silly flat earthers. Funding is only for the heliocentric believers. You've been excommunicated. You don't get any funding.
I mean, I love that like everybody on Discord can easily just tell you what magnetism is, but if you ask like somebody like Richard Feynman, you just go look up Richard Feynman's response to the question what magnetism is. It's quite hilarious.
The claim that flat earthers don't get funding, is that trying to also insinuate that globers get all the funding they want for all of their experiments? Because I'm pretty sure there's plenty of globe Earth experiments that don't get funding because, people gotta want to fund it.
Yeah, I don't know how that's sequitur to our current conversation.
Well, because if you're like, just because you're a flat earther means your experiments are never going to have funding. It's kind of like saying that, I'm going to get funding for my experiment just because I'm a globe earther.
What does that have to do with magnetism?
I was just responding to the person complaining that flat earthers don't get funding. That just happened about 10 seconds ago. So however that was related to the magnetism, I guess.
I don't know. I didn't hear anybody say that, but
holy shit! Then I must be hearing stuff. The only person
I mean,
heard
somebody
that.
could have said it. I'm doing work, so I'm not 100% paying attention.
Cool. So he probably shouldn't be the authority to say that somebody said something.
I got chem.libretext.org says light, electricity, and magnetism are all different forms of electromagnetic radiation. So that's two witnesses, establishes every matter. I don't see why this is such a problem.
Okay, Lion, let's break it down. Magnetism,
sure,
and light are different things. The thing you just read said that magnetism and light, it said magnetism and the electromagnetic radiation, or it said magnetism and light, and then read the rest of the statement.
Magnetism is part of the conjugate nature of light. So to say that light and magnetism are two different things is incorrect.
Yeah, Lion, just read the rest of what you said.
Light, sure, light, electricity, and magnetism are all different forms of electromagnetic radiation.
Okay, so let's break that down for a second. Different forms. What do you think that means? What it means?
Energy
it means they're different. It means they're not the same thing.
Well, hold on. Let me answer. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be what? Transferred. So just because you transfer energy from light to electricity, from electricity to magnetism, does that mean that magnetism is not energy?
Okay,
that's what you're saying.
When have you seen light transferred from light to magnetism or vice versa?
Light is made up of magnetism. Magnetism
has anybody
is one
seen that?
conjugate. Magnetism is a conjugate portion of light.
Fantastic.
Everything on the electromagnetic everything on the electromagnetic spectrum
how
is
do you
light.
Lion.
Go ahead, Coach.
When have you seen magnetism affect light or light affect magnetism?
Well, even the theory of relativity, they say that light bends because of gravitational black holes. Like black holes bend light, dude.
That's not magnetism, though.
Yeah, it's not the magnetic component of the black hole. It's the space-time bending component of it.
All right, so this is why it gets semantical, because you're saying that black holes are not due to gravitational waves.
What?
Clearly, there's gravity. Anyways,
we're talking about magnets, not black holes and gravity.
Yeah, I'm saying black holes cause bending in space-time, which is what bends the light. The gravity bends space-time, which bends the light. The light follows a straight path, and that's different than.
Okay,
that's totally different. That's a different
disconnect.
That's a different subject than magnetism. Magnetism doesn't do this to light.
Because you don't believe that gravity is electromagnetic, correct?
I don't think it's electromagnetic, and more specifically, I don't think it's magnetic, which is what we're talking about.
What does magnetism's effect on light have to do with anything?
He just said that you can convert one to the other.
So what is the lack of bending of light in the presence of a magnetic field? What does that have to do with the ability to transfer energy between the two?
I don't know. He brought it up.
He's saying
I'm saying that's not evidence.
Yeah, there's no way to put the equal sign there.
Who put an equal? I'm confused. I don't know. I feel like they're straw manning you, Lion, but maybe I'm incorrect.
Not at all.
It's all good, man, because we just have differences of opinion on how gravity works. See,
that's fine. That's fine, but
in my understanding, gravity is electromagnetic, bro. It requires polarity. Okay, go ahead.
Well, no, let's just put that to the side. Let's just put that to the side for a second, because let's keep it at whether magnetism is electromagnetic. I mean, because I agree that magnetism. Because I had an argument with somebody about this years ago about magnetism and electromagnetic radiation, and I did see that magnetism is a form of electromagnetic radiation, but it's not the same form of light. Like the spectrum, magnetism is not on that spectrum, right? So that's just two different.
Yeah, I agree. But I believe also simultaneously that it should be on that spectrum.
Why? Why do you believe that?
It's a resonance frequency. It's a wave. It's an energetic wave.
You know what's weird? They say that electromagnetic radiation and magnetism is like two totally different things, and sound and light are two totally different things. But sound can make light, star in a jar.
Yeah, absolutely. You see, the universe itself is all light, bro. Everything is light, just broken down into different forms, different
Well, everything's
material
actually
forms.
magnetism. I think you're going a little base there if you say it's all light, where technically everything is a form of magnet or form of magnetism.
Yeah, it's all part of the conjugate nature of the dielectric and the magnetic. Everything.
I think
So I
that
think we're talking.
Electric
Talking
universe.
past each other at this point.
well, except for that, I've always had this problem with electric universe people. Not that you guys are, but someone just brought it up, and then someone saying basically magnetic universe, which demons try to.
I am. I
Right. I got you. I'm not trying to ridicule that at all. But what I'm saying is that in my paradigm, at least, I think that magnetism is one of two parts of another force, a greater force, and that those four forces, or that and maybe 4 or 5 other forces, you know, dictate what happens to the entire universe. But that doesn't mean that magnetism is not a part of my universe or a large part of my universe. But I don't know why you would limit everything to one component of those interactions, like the the strong and weak nuclear force, of course, but magnetic and electric force make up the electromagnetic force. So it's like, I don't know. So it's weird to think of one of them like as being the dominant force of the universe.
I mean, I agree. You need both.
Yeah, but then also the other forces.
And I'm arguing at a fundamental level, bro. This is elementary because I'm not an expert in this area. This is just from common sense, bro. And you seem to not agree with like things that are like common to me.
What if I told you that, like I said, that those forces, like gravity, or not gravity, but yeah, gravity as well, but magnetism, electricity, light, like I think that these are fundamental. Like if you were to only look at this one thing and the entire universe, you could think like this thing is in everything in the universe, so it must be, the dominant thing. So I can see why you come to that conclusion or whatever. But I'm just saying, like, if you took out everything else, there would be a lot missing, and it's actually like you can't say the whole universe is light because there's things that don't even interact with light, right?
Let me explain something to you, right? In the Hebrew, the word for wind is the same word for spirit. It's a ruach. And in the book of Enoch, it talks about these energetic lines that the moon and the sun are on, and it uses the same word. It uses the word ruach, right? So this electromagnetic force, and the word ruach is synonymous for force, for spirit, and for wind. And all these forces are from the same energetic source, right? It's whether it's wind, where you feel the wind blowing, right, or whether it's a propelling force through magnetism, or it's electricity, a force that it's hard to define, right? You can say it's electromagnetic, but electricity has its own qualities. It's all from the same source, bro.
But when you say the planets are on these lines of energy or electricity or whatever, why would you believe what the Book of Enoch says about that? Since it doesn't appear to match reality. If you see this, do you see
Regardless
planets
of
up
my
there on lines
philosophical
of energy?
bias,
Well, just
no,
because you
just hear
brought
me
it up
out.
as
That
a
what I'm saying is that wind itself, wind, right? What is wind? In your opinion, what is wind? When you see the trees blowing, right? When you see the leaves falling, what is that? What's wind?
it's a transfer of high and low pressure of air molecules.
It's like the
Well,
turbulence in a boiling pot of water. Like there's
okay, so
turbulence in
okay,
a boiling
fair
pot of
enough, fair
water,
enough.
just like the wind.
In my understanding, though, because of my bias, right, my philosophical understanding of these things, in my understanding, wind and magnetism, the same magnetism that propels the sun, right? You can't separate the wind on Earth, right, from the magnetism that propels the sun. It's the same source. It comes from the same pool of energy.
Why do you think magnetism does anything for the? What do you think? Or like, why would that be a sentence you just said?
So what do you, whether you call it ether or you call it the fabric of space and time, there seems to be a universal constant, a force that you get both wind and electromagnetic forces from. It's all from it, or even rainfall, even gravity itself can be explained.
Lion, are you suggesting that the wind is like an electric, like a magnetism? Is that what you're suggesting?
Like, yeah, I asked a
I can't
clarifying
even
question.
begin
It got more confused.
Let's let mine.
Yeah, I can't even begin to explain the mechanisms at play here, how gravity actually works and how wind actually works. All I'm simply stating is that all these forces are sourced from the same source. That's all I'm saying. However you wanna, what do you mean? How do I know that? I have a philosophical bias.
Right.
It's because of the Hebrew scriptures.
Ryan, would you say it would be best defined as all these movements that people are talking about would be best defined as pressure mediation?
Not even. It's not just buoyancy and density or pressure mediation, bro. What I'm referring to is literally the energy that we see, right? That energy, whether it's inertial force, whether you push somebody with your hands or the wind blows or whatever's propelling the sun, that source of energy all comes from the same pool.
Yeah.
Some refer to as the ether.
Your understanding of magnetism.
Listen, I keep saying.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I was just trying to clarify. So your understanding of magnetism, gravity, and wind all comes from a religious bias from a scripture. Yeah?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
I'll admit that. My understanding, my worldview is based on what I see in the scriptures. That's how I develop my worldview. But you can probably try to explain it in a more scientific way, you know.
It's very interesting.
Be my guest.
That's why I asked if you suggested that, because I thought it was more to do with almost like a current. For instance, like a stream of water. If you had to put warm water with cold water, you actually see that stream, that you almost see that refraction happening in the water when you, for instance, put an ice block in a glass of water. I would think that that's what's happening. But yeah, I'm not here to question your understanding or your beliefs. I personally like to hear everyone's understanding or experience of what they see and experience. I think it's a fascinating topic, this, and I thought it was more to do with currents. Purely my understanding that the air is also like a water. So yeah, I thought it had to do with that.
Bearman, can I? Because I think that was actually a nice way you put that. Actually, I want to apologize to Lion for being kind of harsh on him. I've kind of been in a bad mood lately. But
it's all good, bro. And I understand that I might come off as abrasive sometimes in my.
Well, but I appreciate your perspective, man. So yeah, but
I just hopped in. I didn't even know you guys had an argument or.
No, we weren't having.
That was a good time. That was a good timing, then, man, because you gave me some introspective moments. So but yeah, please, Lion, respond to his whatever he said.
Whether it's sound or light, like my brother here was saying, you know, you can't really, you can separate them to an extent, but energy is energy, bro. When you break it down to its most fundamental particle, what do you have? Even in the current model, what do you have? Vibrating strings, right?
It's interesting, but yeah, it doesn't resonate with me. So, but yeah, I like to hear your perspective. It is always interesting to hear alternatives.
I find it interesting that they're trying to find what they would consider the smallest particle, which they call the what particle? What are they looking for? What do they call
the God particle? The Higgs
Yeah.
boson, the quarks. I don't
Yeah.
know. They got so many names, dude.
I think
God
there's
particle.
neutrino is the smallest particle.
I just find it funny that, you know, like a lot of people are coming at you because you come from a philosophical belief, right? And interestingly enough, science is trying to find what they call the God particle, which I find quite hilarious when it comes to the conversation.
Napalm, I love that you brought that up because that's actually one of the reasons why I hopped into the Discord. But I'll wait for you guys. Like I said, I just hopped in, so I'll wait for you guys to finish your things up. And when the Discord gets quiet, then I'll bring up a new topic. But
This is a good topic. There's like, you know, the subatomic particles and that kind of stuff. But I don't think that the Higgs boson is supposed to be the smallest particle. I thought the neutrino was supposed to be the smallest.
I don't know, whatever they call the God particle. Isn't that what they're looking for? The particle that is the foundation of all existence? Isn't that what the Hadron Colliders were established for?
Well, they found the Higgs boson, but it's like I think it only pertains to massive object, or like it's the boson that interacts with the Higgs field, which is like a field that when you interact with it, it gives different things, I guess, mass in certain cases, but not in all cases, because things can gain mass through energy, for example. Because I was talking to Jace about this, because he said that the Higgs boson is responsible for like, you know, a percentage of a particle's mass or material's mass or something, but it's going to get like in most cases most of its energy from things like the electrostatic forces that are keeping it together and stuff like that.
Kosho, yeah, like I'm not very scientific versed, like you know all these different particles and things like that. As far as I understand, with these sort of things, I'm like literally kindergarten. I'm like Lego. I understand, for instance, when you build a house out of bricks and concrete, if you had to zoom out of that building, you would say, okay, cool, this house is built out of bricks and concrete, and they zoom in and they see, oh, there's a concrete between the bricks uh, and the other brick, and they would say, okay, this is what's holding those two bricks together. If you dig it deeper, they're going deeper into it. So now they've seen, okay, what's the concrete made out of? What's the brick made out of? They're getting to a point where they're saying, okay, cool, this is made out of that and that's made out of that, but those two are holding each other together. For me, that's why I said this is awesome that Nate Palm brought this up, and this is I don't know if my timing is correct to hop into the Discord, but this is what I wanted to say. It's like a fractal universe. We only able to zoom in so far at this point, but before they only knew the atom, and then they cut the atom, and then they found more parts into the atom. So I believe in a fractal universe, or that's my personal thing. So guys, don't fucking bash on me. This is my belief or my philosophical understanding.
It's all good, and I appreciate it, bro. I like to, you know, go back and forth with different ideas. It's all good, man. We don't have to agree.
Well, you guys might not appreciate this. Well, I mean, I don't. Maybe you might, beer man, but I saw this the other day, and I was going to ask Jace about this, but I don't know. Perhaps do you, beer man or anyone else, you guys know that, like, you know, there's the atom, and then there's the protons and neutrons in the atom, and the protons and neutrons are said to be held together by quarks. Like, you need that, like 3 quarks.
I've heard of the quarks thing. Yeah, that's the smallest they go so far, but surely they can go deep. They don't know what's beyond that. You can't say that's the last thing because they said the atom was the last thing before, if you know what I mean. For instance, if you look out in the larger scale, they're saying this is the largest thing, and then they're saying, oh, they found something even larger. So they're always finding more and more and more, but we can only see so much at this specific moment. I don't know if you guys have ever seen those little videos on Instagram where they zoom in and zoom in, and it's like zooming into a bird's eye, and then the bird's eye seeing this and this and this. That's my world. I'm not going to say worldview, but I believe that. I think that's highly possible. If you zoom into, like, for instance, an ant or a fly, that little creature's got its own universe. What if they're to make microscopes, if you know what I mean? What would they see?
Yeah. I mean, that's sort of what I was gonna. Because I mean, I thought this was cool that the quarks, which, yeah, you're right, are said to be like the smallest And there's people that think that it could go deeper, like you're saying, like there not be a limit to
String
that.
theory.
A
Yeah, like
preon
string theory is another example. So what? Yeah.
A preon is smaller than a quark, right?
I'm not sure what that is.
I think preons and quarks are both smaller than neutrinos.
I think neutrinos are the least massive. I mean, if quarks make up the mass of a proton, neutrinos are much less massive as a proton. So I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but I think neutrinos are supposed to be but that's not important. We can figure it out in a second. But I saw the other day that instead of there being 3 quarks in a proton or neutron, they found that some protons and neutrons can have like as many as 5 quarks in them, right? Which I know it sounds like okay, like who cares? But there's these are like fundamental like building blocks, like you're saying, Beer Man. Like it's like they're still investigating and they're getting some things like. I mean, that would be a pretty big thing to be. And I wouldn't say wrong about, but kind of like find out that there's a totally different conception of what they appear to be, like what they appear to be made of.
Yeah, it's fascinating, dude. It's really awesome when you can have sort of these sort of discussions instead of like they've already found it and you leave it at that. Because yeah, like I said, I definitely believe that. For me, at least, I believe that we're in a fractal verse, in the sense that we could be part of some massive. We could be a brick, for instance, and we holding that brick together, but we don't even know it. Um, yeah, it's really awesome. And yeah, I just think it should be a healthy discussion. It shouldn't be a ad nomin or what's that fucking abnomin or that word where you fucking
Ad hominem.
that's the word. It shouldn't need to be that. I think it should be a healthy discussion and open up your minds a bit because yeah, this is awesome.
I don't think it should be, Beerman. I think we have figured everything out, and if anybody has anything contrary to something that has been published and peer reviewed by current science with somebody that has a PhD or equivalent, if you disagree with any of that that's on the papers, then you have you're just wrong. That's what I think.
I'm happy
I
with
want to
that.
say that according to string theory, right? And I don't believe in string theory, but it kind of backs up to what I was saying. It says, according to string theory, absolutely everything in the universe, all of the particles that make up matter and forces, is comprised of tiny vibrating fundamental strings. And this is like the most smallest thing that they can theorize is a vibrating string, smaller than a quark, smaller than a gluon.
That's at this
It
moment.
says here that yeah, so what determines a type of particle is the movement of the string and the energy associated with this movement, according to Einstein's famous equation, E equals mc squared, which I don't believe in, but it says here energy and mass are equivalent. That is, the more energy something contains, the more mass it has, and vice versa. In string theory, this equivalence accounts for the different masses of different particles. A lower energy string is lighter, less massive than a higher energy string. String theory also accounts for the characteristics of massless particles. This is where I wanted to touch on, because electromagnetic waves technically don't have a mass. But it says here, string theory also accounts for the characteristics of massless particles that carry forces. The carriers of electromagnetic radiation, such as gravity and strong and weak forces, photons, gravitons, gluons, and weak gauge bosons, respectively, interact with other particles based on their resonant or vibrational patterns. And at the end of the day, this is a different way of explaining the electric universe. That everything is vibration, everything broken down to the smallest fundamental particle is energetic states, energy, vibrations, including electromagnetic frequencies and waves. Can all be broken down to its most fundamental particle is an energetic state. Now, this energetic state they theorize are strings, energetic strings, but they haven't proven that in the lab.
Yeah, that was
But yeah,
way too
that's it.
much. That's way for me too much for me to understand, for instance. So, like I was saying, what Napalm said, if mainstream this and that, for me at least, I, I don't want to accept everything that everyone's telling me. I want it to make sense to me, and to me, a lot of the stuff that's shared, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't resonate with me. Um, and I would thank, for instance, the flat Earth introduction to this, because I would have never ever questioned anything of my reality if I was never introduced to flat Earth. Um, I'm not myself a flat earther. I've gotten to the point where I don't think there's a shape, um, but I would thank that sort of community for me to even consider questioning what everything is and where we're at. But that's why I say I don't believe that there should be a argument. I think it should be more a discussion and a shared experience or what everyone's doing. But yeah, what you shared now was a bit too high grade for me. But yeah, I appreciate you sharing that.
Dude, I'm a nobody, bro. I'm not even qualified to talk about these things. It's just I've absorbed little by little over my lifetime regarding these matters, but I'm by no means an expert.
You most certainly qualified to share your experiences, buddy.
Yeah, don't
Yeah,
sell
that's
yourself
what.
short, man. Everybody's qualified. I'm a freaking accountant, but what do I know?
No, it's not about it's not always about what's knowing. I like to hear your experiences. Like I've been looking into refraction and the way the eyes work and things like that, and I've gotten to the point where that's why I say I believe in a fractal verse, because if there's a building, say this building is straight up above me, and it's 100 meters tall building. At what point will I not be able to see that building in perfectly clear conditions due to perspective because of the shape of our eyes? There's going to be a point where I can't see it anymore. Same thing with microscopes. If I look onto the floor, I don't see the bacteria on my floor. My eyes they can't zoom in that far, or they don't refract the light that close because of the shape of my eyeball. Um, so yeah, dude, you very much qualified to share your experience of what you experience in this realm that we're in.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you've said building about 1,000 times in this conversation, Beerman, because that is literally the one word for me that most obviously pinpoints a South African accent for me. So thank you. Literally, if I have a question, if I'm like on the verge, or somebody's like, "Where do you think I'm from?" and I think they're from South Africa, I'll be like, "How do you say building?" And I'll be like, "All right, you're from South Africa."
A building. How do you
Building.
spell
Yep.
it? Building, building,
Bull,
building,
building. Yeah. Yep. We say building, and you guys say
building.
building, and
Okay, yeah.
English.
Yes.
Yeah, and
We got
like people from the UK don't put the more O sound to it, even though you guys have similar accents. So that's how I can differentiate more clearly.
nice.
Yeah.
Yes. We got buildings here. Oh no, I fucking did Australian. Fuck. South African's like the hardest to do.
Yeah, we got a lot of different accents here as well. We got the Afrikaans English accent, and we got the African English accent. Yeah, we got different accents. But yeah, awesome to know that we say buildings differently.
Yep. It's the you guys inflect a lot of the type stuff within that. I think that might come from the Afrikaans, maybe.
It could be, but yeah, language is a very interesting topic as well of where words come from. And there's an awesome YouTuber, J Dreamers, that digs very much into it with the pronunciations of words and how it evolved into the language that we have today.
Can you say water?
Water.
Okay. Because yeah, Americans say water, And the Australians are like, water. Yeah, sailies out there with the sharks in the water. And then the British people are like, water?
Yeah,
but then,
unless you're from where I'm from, and then they say water.
Oh, water.
Water.
Oh, wow, I've never heard that.
Like, if you're from Jersey or like Philly area or somewhere around there, sometimes they'll say water.
Oh, water? Yeah, water.
There's
Water.
that other guy, that other Christian dude. I can't think of his name now, but the water. What's that guy that preaches a lot about the dinosaurs and what's that
Ken Ham?
guy? No, the dinosaur Adventureland guy. The dinosaur.
Are you talking about
dinosaur.
Paul?
No, man. The guy that went to prison for tax evasion.
Hovind? Kent Hovind?
Yeah, Hovind. Kent
I
Hovind.
was gonna say you're talking about
yeah,
inmate
water.
735 or whatever.
No, man. Don't worry about his fucking criminal thingy. That criminal stuff is man-made stuff. But Kent Hovind, that guy. He does water or something. He does something weird as well.
Water. He pronounces the T and it like stops and then goes on to the ER part of it. Water.
Yeah, interesting way to say it. But yeah, I've heard it more than just from him. I got a question regarding left and right as well, or direction in general. I was thinking about it last night. I was doing a guided meditation, and I went into a fucking thought process as well. And I was thinking of left and right. So, for instance, if I'm saying from my left to my right, something is moving, but the person opposite me is saying no, but it's moving from his right to left. If we had to go outside of our world, for instance, or outside of our universe, or however I say it, what are we saying relative to what is left to right? Is it to yourself, or to what is left to right relative to, or direction in general? For instance, I'm saying now you yourself is the center of the universe. For you, that's left to right. In relative to what is left is direction in general.
I think you answered your own question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it depends
sort
on
of.
what you're trying to say. You trying to say my right or your right, and then you've already. I mean, that right there is in relation to what. So it all depends.
Right.
It's all relative.
Yeah,
That's a good point you're making.
That
Now. It's a
itself
good
is
point you're making.
relative.
Yeah.
That's definitely relative.
Yeah, so for instance, if we're looking at our cosmology and we're looking at orbits and things like that, relative to what is that orbit? Is that something that scientists are still researching, looking further into? For instance, we're saying we're rotating around it. I'm giving mainstream now, so don't give me shit about it. Don't give me flat earth. I'm just trying to find out, or trying to get an understanding of relative to what is everything rotating. Is it now relative to the sun, or
Well,
how we saying things?
I'll give my 2 cents real quick. So just because left and right-handed things might be relative doesn't mean that relativity is true. That's all I'm going to say.
That's fair enough. Yeah, so I was just thinking, the reason why I brought this up now is I was thinking about the orbits and things like that. So they're saying we're rotating around something. Rotating is a directional movement. So in relative to what is that rotation happening?
I don't know, but what I know is that Uranus is rotating the wrong way, debunking gravity right off the bat.
So it could be rotating because it's relative to something else. So that's why I'm saying that, asking that. So yeah, I think
Uranus.
It is rotating.
Uranus rotating the wrong. Oh yeah, he's just. I forgot. No thanks, just trolls all the time. My bad. I was gonna respond to that, but
You got a little bit
I just
echo. Are you in your Prius right now? I can't tell.
No, at my Prius it doesn't have any echo.
Yeah.
Yeah, Uranus is rotating on its as all the other planets are rotating on an axis that's different than the orbital plane. However, having said that, its axis is 90 degrees perpendicular to the orbital plane. Is that right? And so that's just unlikely. It's not. All the other planets and moons are basically more or less aligned with it, right?
But Kosha, that would be an explanation for why it looks like it's rotating. For instance, I didn't even know it's rotating, looking like it's rotating in an opposite direction. But would that be an explanation, or do they actually know that that is the case?
I mean, that's the observation will tell you that. I mean, it's like if you were observing Jupiter, for instance, you could see the direction that it's rotating just by observing it for 5 minutes.
You say
Right.
if you could see Jupiter because you know we can't see Uranus and Neptune. Is that what you're saying?
So the
No,
fact
I'm
that it's
saying that
rotating
because it's
backwards,
easy to understand that. Go ahead, man.
yeah, I'm wondering how the fact that it's rotating backwards would debunk gravity. Where in the law of gravity does it say all things must rotate the same way when creating a solar system?
It's not that like in the law. It's the law of angular momentum, but it's fine.
Well, just go ahead and explain yourself.
So I don't have to explain a make-believe thing in the sky that goes backwards, counteractive to the conservation of angular momentum, but still somehow
Well,
holds to be true in your mind. I don't have to explain that away.
if you
No
wanted to
thanks.
flip a glober, I mean, you could totally explain it to me, and it, it makes sense.
No way. Stop that.
No thanks.
Stop that.
Yeah,
If the luminaries that we see in the sky, planets, stars, etc., are refracted lights, could it be that's just a different? For instance, if we see a ship going over, or I'm not say going over the horizon, but going to the horizon, and then sometimes we see the light refracting up. It's difficult to explain now without my hand movements and things like that. But there's sometimes an opposite direction that the light is moving. Could it be a refraction occurrence? That's why we're seeing it spin in a different direction. Is that maybe a possible alternative understanding of what's going on? Refraction
That
itself.
sounds more reasonable. Yeah. I mean, in regards to the ocean and seeing something disappear over the horizon, we have this mirror of the ocean, right, where the boats and waves and light is being reflected off of the water. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, I could take. I have a. I think I told you about this before, right? Beer man, I have a recessed lighting in the house, and I drink coffee black, right? And so sometimes it'll just line up. I'll put it on the table, and it'll line up the light with the coffee cup, the black coffee cup. And then one day I'm just like kind of tapping my foot, right, and I just look down. I see the coffee. It starts to rotate within the coffee cup, the light, and then if you go a little bit faster, it rotates the other way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen something. I think I know what you're talking about. So I've seen something similar. For instance, we got a shitty thing, yeah, called load shedding in South Africa, where they turn off our power for a couple of hours. So we got backup power lights and things like that. But sometimes I shower with a torch, just so I can see when I'm showering, and I shine the torch through the glass of the shower, and when I see little sparkles of water hit the glass. It does weird things and it looks a lot like the sky. It reminds me a lot of the sky. And yeah, I see a lot of things doing things similar to the sky and opposite rotations. And that's why I thought that's why I asked the question: could it be possibly refraction that's causing different direction rotations and things like that? Because yeah, once again we are looking through a medium which is air and it consists of water, which has refraction in it. So I think it's definitely plausible that could be the case as well.
well, what did
But
you
yeah,
mean when you said you have your coffee black and it's sitting on your countertop and the light in it is rotating one way and you're tapping your foot and then it starts rotating the other way? That it completely went over me. What the hell do you mean?
Well, I mean, you could do. I mean, it's real simple, right? So, but yeah, like so, it's a recessed light, like a 6-inch recessed light in the ceiling. I mean, Beer Man probably doesn't know. He's got a fucking flashlight for showers. I'm just kidding, Beer Man. But it's like a 6-inch light, and it just lines up with the coffee cup that's on the table, and the coffee's black, right? So, but when it's got like creamer in it, it's not. Anyway, it makes like a good mirror when it's black, right? And when I lightly shake the table or my foot that shook the table, right? You'll see what it because it appears in the cup small, like so it only takes up a small diameter of the cup, right? The light that's on the ceiling, so it's in the center of it, right? Like lined up right in the center. So you shake it, you just shake the table a little bit, right? And it'll be going like clockwise, right? Then you start to shake it a lot, and it suddenly just is a perfect counterclockwise rotation in the cup, just by changing the vibrating and how often I vibrate the table. It'll go clockwise or counterclockwise.
Have you seen those optical illusions where it's like it's just a GIF, so it's not actually like changing, but as you're watching, it'll be like a ballerina. It looks like she's turning clockwise, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it seems like she just abruptly reverses and starts spinning the opposite way. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I love those things, dude. Those are awesome. But there is one direction that it's actually spinning. But like you said, there's an optical illusion, 100%. But those are fascinating. It's like that pink shoe and the blue shoe or what turquoise shoe. Yeah. For instance, with that, I can see it spin both ways. Most of the time, I think it's got a lot to do with the dominant eye. Which way you see it, I could be wrong, but I can spin it both ways. Same with the shoe, I can do it both colors. However, with that golden white dress, I can't change that. I can't see it the other way. But yeah, it's fascinating stuff. It's awesome.
Once I see that dress change, it starts flipping for me. Like every couple seconds, I'll see it the opposite way, and then it'll flip back.
You know those pictures, the same thing's true about both of them, which is, well, actually no, the same thing isn't true about the actual picture of the dress, but you could create the same effect. But anyways, my point is that the effect is exactly the same, which is that those both. So in the instance, because I've done this with that ballerina picture, I actually was pranking people with that. But regardless, that's the same video in both cases. The only difference is they added context to it, and the context gives you the impression that it's spinning one way, and if you add like other outside context, it gives you the impression it's spinning the other way. And with that dress, if you actually show it to people with like it depends on the lighting of the rest of the scene. So if like it's gonna give you a what do you call it, like a suggestion for what you're looking at is supposed to be. It's the same thing as like, I don't know if you've ever seen that Rubik's Cube. There's like a Rubik's Cube, and it's like, these colors are the same color actually, and they're two different colors. It's the same thing. The context looks different because of the shadow. Yeah.
There's another, like that Laurel and Yanni. There's another one where they speak about something else, and they saying the actual. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, you can look it up real quick if you just type in green lightning and brainstorm. There's a little GIF that'll play.
That's the one. Yeah, that's the one.
And you can either think, like if you think the word in your head, that's what you hear. So you can even change it. They'll say green lightning or brainstorm, and you can think brain lightning or green storm, and you'll hear that too. It's fucking weird.
Yes, same thing. So it's like that Laurel and Yanni one. However, the Laurel and Yanni one, I think, is a little bit different to that, but similar. How I always heard Laurel. Then one day I heard Yanni, and I haven't heard Yanni again, but I have heard it on the same clip that I kept on hearing and listening to. But yeah, it's interesting stuff, and it's all perspective, and it's got to do with your senses, and like that spinning of that chickie that spins around.
Green.
That's the way I. Oh, sorry, Jeremy. Oh, Jeremy, you were roboting there. Sorry, I'm almost done. That's the way. I'm almost. Go ahead.
Green lightning is brainstorm and green needle, and the fun thing is to play that to somebody without telling them the words. Just play somebody audio and tell them to tell you what they hear.
Yeah,
there's another one I've seen where it's an audio repeating the word buck, B-U-C-K, like a deer, but you see an image of somebody saying the word fuck, F-U-C-K. And if you're looking at the image, you hear the word fuck, and if you're not, you hear the word fuck.
Yeah, it's all perspective, and that's the way I feel with with the shape of the Earth. I'm between, like, on that chickie that turns left or right. I see it this way, then I see it that way, and I see it this way, and I see it that way, and that's where I've got to the point. Like, I don't fucking think this place has got a shape to it. But yeah, that's why I love this concept.
I'm glad that you brought that up because people always talk about, well, what do you feel the Earth is doing? What do your senses tell you? And the thing is, with your senses, like, you can't ultimately depend on your senses to dictate truth, even though it might seem theoretically like the Earth isn't moving, or it might seem like the Earth doesn't curve. You can't rely on your optical perspective or your hearing or your senses, because your senses are deceiving. There are many examples of this through psychology, through power of suggestion, through hallucinations, that you can perceive something to be so when it's not that, because your senses are vulnerable. Like, you can't. That's why I don't rely on my senses. I rely on other things. I don't want to get into it, but yeah. So, like, just because the moon looks like it's a rock, right? It looks like it has craters on it with your senses, doesn't mean that it actually is a rock and actually has craters on it.
Yeah, I recently had the flu, or I'm going through it now. I'm on the last stages of it, and I noticed when I closed my left and right eye, if I switched between the eyes, the colors would change. And I asked my wife, "Fuck it, have you ever experienced this?" And it's pretty much coming normal now. So I don't know if that had to do with a lot with the sinuses or whatever it had to do with, but that's when I realized, holy crap, your senses got so much to do with what you see. For instance, if I closed my right eye, everything, if I look through my left eye, it would be a very faint color red. But if I look through my right eye, it would be a super bright red. And I've never experienced that before, and I experienced this now this past week. I thought, holy crap, this is amazing. And yeah, I think we should share everyone's experiences, because
Yeah, and I think is it Cohen? Is that how you say your name, Cohen, or how do you say it?
Yeah, I used to be known as Beer Man, but Cohen, because I think our whole life is a Cohen. It's a riddle.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, a lot of the stuff you were saying, I resonate with, because I think sometimes in this Earth debate, people are like too attached to getting other people, like they think they have to convince other people that their way of seeing it is right. I mean, in the case of the globe, it can be objectively and mathematically shown that the globe model has no relation to what we actually observe in reality. But that doesn't mean we don't have to then, the other side of it, the people who reject the globe, I don't think you're going to find that most of them who are being honest are going to then present to you a model that they claim explains everything and that they have the answers to everything. So I think that is where there's a difference, even though you can say, oh, I can see both sides and everybody has their own point of view. That's the case. But in the case of the globe, it can be mathematically shown to be wrong. That doesn't mean most people who are honest should not be then telling you we've got a replacement. There are, of course, people in the flat earth community who do think that everyone needs to think like them, and those people should be stayed away from. Those are people who you should stay away from them. They don't accept. There's many people who call themselves flat earthers who will not acknowledge what you said, which is that we should be having a discussion. Science is about discussions, not about proving things, and so on. Certain people who run around in the so-called flat earth community claiming to be pro-science have some of the most anti-science attitudes ever known to man. So that is
you
why
just have like an amazing microphone. I mean, your voice comes through great. Like,
thank you. I've got an iPhone, white earphones that are starting to fray, and the wires are showing through them. But anyway, my point is that Cohen should not, it's not, the arguments are not this, it's not an equal argument in terms of everybody can just think whatever they want and your truth is the same as mine. It's not the same, because Flat Earth has math on its side. But at the same time, I don't run around telling Globers you have to reject your fantasy globe. I let them stay on it, because some people psychologically and emotionally are not capable of discarding the model and therefore acknowledging that the authority figures that they have followed their whole life are completely fraudulent. So I accept people who want to stay on the globe. By all means, stay on it. I'm not here to stop you.
Blows me away that I've not heard the claim. I mean, every once in a while you hear that claim, but when you say that the flat Earth model has math to prove the globe wrong, which math are you talking about?
I don't know, but she said it really well.
Yeah, I know. You sounded so confident. I'm like, I want to hear this math now.
Okay, yeah, you can go back to that now, Demon Stride. I just want to say, yeah, thanks for those kind words. I do appreciate it, and yeah, I would agree that for me, for myself at least, I enter this Discord to chat to you guys very little. I listen mostly, and then I take the information for myself. I don't really share my stuff, purely because I hear too many arguments if you had to share your own perspective of it. So I keep a lot of my perspectives to myself because there's just too much ridicule.
Yeah, just don't let them ridicule. Yeah, the people who ridicule, just just don't engage with them. I mean, that's what I do. I just either realize these people aren't capable of having adult conversations, so I only talk to them about the weather, or I just leave when they're around. So yeah, just don't accept the ridicule.
Yeah, for instance, he's asked now for the math, and I've heard it so many times where the guys do give the math, and do with that math what you want. If you don't accept it, just leave it. Leave the guy to do, or the chick to do what they've shared, and leave it at that. Cool. That's their perspective. That's their math. And yeah, I've taken that math and I've either accepted or rejected it. It's not going to change my wife's life. It's not going to change my neighbor's life. It's not going to change your life. But for me, I got to say, just being introduced to this topic has changed my life. Not like I said, I'm not a flat earther. I've become a no earther. I've discovered a whole different life, a whole different perspective.
I
of
like
life.
that. No earther. That's great. Love it. Love it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll automatically, just because you just from that last statement, I'll trust you over like 99% of the people who call themselves flat earthers. Believe me. Yeah. No earther. I love it.
Well, I mean, I'm just a truth seeker, and I want, like, if there's a fact about reality that you got that you've either discovered or mathed out yourself, and you're saying there's math that proves the globe wrong, by all means.
Yeah,
Ew, you're a truth seeker.
yes.
I'm a no earther too, by the way. I just want to put that out there. I'm also
Yeah,
a no earther now.
Who's the other no earther? This is the first day I've ever heard anyone call themselves a no earther. Who's the other no earther?
No thanks.
That was no.
Oh, no
thanks,
chance.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Yeah. So Demon tries to ask me for what have I done?
No, I'm not asking you. I'm asking
okay.
the lovely lady who came in and claimed that there was the math to prove the
You
globe
already
right.
asked me the same thing the other day when I was in this server. I mean, just rewind the live stream, 8 inches per mile squared. You've all heard it 1,000 times before.
That's what you're saying.
You don't. Of course, you don't
Okay.
accept it. I get it. You don't accept reality,
Well, it's
and I
wrong.
told you can stay on your globe if you want. It's no problem. It's no problem at all. I accept the geometry of what your alleged sphere should predict in terms of what we can and cannot see in reality. And I know that I've seen with my own eyes, as well as seen thousands of credible demonstrations, that we see way further than we should see. And so the geometry clearly disproves and falsifies the fantasy globe model 1,000 times over. I get it.
Right.
You don't accept it. I just said you can stay on your fantasy globe. Enjoy.
Cool. So, you've determined though that you have seen too far. I'm just curious how you came to that conclusion. I mean, without like somebody saying you shouldn't be able to see this far. Like, let's do it the flat earth way. Like, if you were never told you were on a globe, would you think? How about this? If nobody ever told you that you shouldn't be able to see this far, how would you have determined that you were seeing too far?
Yeah, if you were taking an angle to a star, and nobody ever told you lived on a sphere, why would you think you lived on a sphere if your baseline to an angle is a flat line?
Exactly. Use that logic and tell me how you came to the conclusion that you can see too far without somebody having told you you shouldn't be able to see this far.
No, that's it, man. That's what disproves.
I'm not talking to you. I was asking the lady. Sorry.
Issa really wants to talk to you. I already said you can stay on your fantasy globe. Yeah, Quantum Eraser and I have had this discussion. We've, chastised ourselves for not being able to figure it out mathematically on our own. I would say that the mind control program was too strong, and I believe that these people claiming to be scientists, had actually checked it out. And then when I investigated it for myself, when I was doing a term paper for my master's degree, I determined that no, indeed, this has not been demonstratively proven. And I showed it to myself. Yeah, that's right. I did it myself by doing the mathematics myself. So it's unfortunate,
Did you do an
that I didn't
observation
figure it
though?
out for myself. But yeah, we were handicapped. Yeah, I've done multiple observations.
No, the
We were
observation that proved
handicapped
it.
by being given this information and believing, as many of us were, pretty much all of us, as far as I know, except for Ildiko, is the only one I know who's claimed to be understood the globe lie since she was a child. It's the only person I've met, maybe one other random person through the years. But no, all of us, we thought the so-called body of science, as Jem Panda would say, was, legitimate. And then we discovered it wasn't. So there you
I
go.
was just asking though, you made an observation that you used math for to show that the observation didn't comport with the globe model.
You seriously don't remember us having the same exact conversation the other night. You just want to have it again because you think you're going to be able to catch me out or whatever.
Oh,
I
we
told you, I've
definitely did
seen
have
the
this chat.
Chicago skyline multiple times, as well as way before I ever thought or knew that that I shouldn't have seen it if I lived on a globe with a radius of 3,959 miles. Yes. People
So you made
around
an
where I
angular,
live. Yeah.
you made an angular calculation, a measurement, or is it just an optical, like I see it with my eye, and I've been told I shouldn't be able to see it, therefore not globe? Like
Okay,
I'm not trying to be a dick, but I'm just asking you
no.
questions about your
Oh,
claim.
you're doing a good imitation.
I want to hop in here
That's
because
a funny. That was a funny joke. But we gotta
listen.
like. So when you said you and QE were like chastised, like are you guys a thing? You guys are just friends?
Absolutely not. I disagree with Quantum Eraser on multiple topics, but that particular one we did agree upon.
Yeah. All right. Just want to.
I want to ask Demon Strike something here because I this sort of conversation every day. I listen a lot on YouTube while I'm working, and the same question gets asked, and the same answers get answered. Blah blah blah. Like what happened now. Demon Strike, are these are alternative thinkers not allowed to think differently than what mainstream has presented? And the reason why I ask that is because I just hear too many arguments like they're not allowed to actually think that or
I
believe
want,
or understand
yeah.
that.
Yeah. So you've been listening to this though, right? You said you listen at work. You were listening just now. At any point, did I tell her she wasn't allowed to think that way? In fact, I said